listening to the soundscapes of Corfu these days that you've been here, what kind of feelings do they create?
Well, it's a number of different feelings. I've had a lot of feelings over the week, so it's very broad range of feelings. There was a moment yesterday after a swim in the ocean where I lay down looking up at the sky at the swallows swimming around, and I know that the swallows are a very unique soundscape that is created here in Corfu. So this is so much different than where I'm from, and what a different climate and different atmosphere I've noticed while I've been here. So I mean, the feelings that I had while I was doing that are quite a range of feelings that I have, because the difference from my hometown is so distinct that I miss being home, but then I also really like being here. So
Do you
kind of
find
conflicted.
it's quiet?
No, I find there's quite a few cars here. I think the cars, for the size of the island, I think there's probably more cars than is needed. They seem to be piled up on the sidewalks, and everywhere you go there's automobiles. So I don't find it quiet, but it's not an unpleasant sound here. The acoustic environment here, I think, is quite nice. The ocean and just the air here has a quality to it that I think enhances the sound. So it's a moist atmosphere here, and I think that kind of dampens the sound a little bit. So it might make the traffic sounds, which there's a lot of, not be as offensive as it could be.
It's very moist atmosphere. Really.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, I'm sure it gets
Comparing
worse.
to the whole Greece, it's one of the islands that has one of the
highest humidity.
highest, yes.
Yeah.
So, but when you, which, let's say, 2-3 sounds would you first notice?
Oh well,
You
I
would
mean,
say this is Corfu.
certainly the bells. There's smaller bells here. They're not really big church bells. They're small bells, but they ring on the hour all over town, and they're like sort of close range bells. So depending on where you are in the city, you hear it differently, and they're individual bells, so they're unique sounds. And I definitely noticed that as soon as I got here. I mean, the ocean is a consistent thing that you notice here, right? Because you're very close to water on all sides. So every time a large boat goes by, the waves will all of a sudden swell up and make you make notice of the ocean. So the bells and the water. There's a, because of the cobblestones, when I was walking through the city, the stones are all different shapes and angles, and that gives a certain kind of reflection quality to walking through the city that I thought was really unique. And I could hear, like, the sounds are, because there's all these little alleyways, and I mean, I haven't ever gone the same way twice moving through this city, and I noticed from people giving me instructions that I don't think there is like a way to get anywhere. Like, the instructions are always very complicated, and almost better off just heading out on your own. So that kind of complexity of route makes it so that sounds don't really go around the corners as much. You hear very local sounds close by, and as soon as you get around the corner, it's a completely different sound space than what you were in. So the closeness of that and the variation of the stone surfaces are two things that I really noticed when I was walking around.
Have you noticed the language, the Greek language? Have you noticed differences on rhythm, speed, loudness, maybe?
Well, I find the language very melodic here, and it's kind of coming into this. It's very much like a flowing language. So it's another soothing quality, and I don't find it a loud language. It's not when I was in Italy, that people are very animated, and here it seems very smooth and flowing, even though people are talking intensely. It's not a angular language. It's a very rounded language. So that's my perception of it. I haven't learned very much Greek while I've been here, though.
Well, it's a specific dialect here as well.
Right.
So it's not always, we say that they are singing here in
Yeah,
Portugal. So
yeah.
it's a little bit more, they take some things from the Italian.
Oh yes, okay.
The loudness, I don't know, every person takes it differently from what they understood. Some people, they think it's very loud.
Yeah, no, I find the voices are not loud, but yeah, it is very melodic and very rounded in its quality.
Another question is, what is silence for you? We spoke a lot during these days about what is silence. So what is it for you?
Silence is not something that I have any comprehension of outside of a thing that I can insert on a software package in between sounds, right? There's an insert silence feature to most software packages for editing sound, and that's the only time that I can conceive of a silence, because the waveform goes down to zero. So it's a technical term that gets used in technical processes. Silence is a concept. It's not a reality. It's not something that humans can experience, so it's not really there, just like zero is not there. It's a conceptual aspect of how we think about sound, right? Just the way we think about numbers or something like that. We can conceive of zero, but we can't actually really see it or experience it.
I believe that the soundscape loses its naturality when it becomes a CD, when it becomes, when you press record. That goes again in the top.
Right.
Does it lose it, or does it gain also something?
Well, I mean, this was a debate that I had, and I went to our mentor, who is Hildegard Westerkamp, and proposed this question around this. It's like, if we're really ecologists, we wouldn't use any technology. We would only be doing sound walks, and we would be because technology itself is a fairly unsustainable, anti-ecology, just by the manufacturing and obsolescence issues that come around it. And what Hildy said around that, and I'll quote her just because she said it better than I can, is that the technology, if it allows you to enter into an environment in a deeper way so that you understand it deeper, and the advantages of that are such that they outweigh any disadvantages of the technology, then it is a viable way of understanding an environment. And that we really have to be careful about how much technology we use and about our choices. And that's what started us down the path of looking at decision-making processes and choices. How do you choose how to represent the sound and what it represents when you're thinking about it. But the fact that once you record something and you can listen back to it and hear more and more depth into what that sound is, more than you could possibly hear at that moment, does allow you a deeper ecological understanding of the soundscape.
Indeed, so sometimes you can hear even more.
And again, and further and further into it. So it's like a meditation on that experience. And even though it is a very subjective slice of that moment that you're capturing, that you're now studying, it does give us a way of interpreting the soundscape deeper. And that is, if it's balanced with restraint in the amount of technology and the amount of processing or the amount of editing, you have to always make those choices.
While I'm doing the project, we always had the conversation inside the class, Since I'm doing something on acoustic ecology, how can I follow the ethics of acoustic ecology when I'm creating a CD, when I'm using technology? And I really don't know how to answer that, because I cannot find an alternative way that I could present it. And
Yeah.
when they ask me how else could you do it,
Well, there is, I mean, and again, it's this, that is the question that we posed to Hildy, and that was her answer, that if you can justify it based on its deeper, its ability to afford you that deeper understanding of the ecology, then it's worth it.
so you
It's
don't
worth
think there is another way at the moment?
Well, no, I mean, certainly there's deep ecology philosophies around the idea of your experience in a ecosystem should be purely experiential and not recorded or mediated in any way. But I mean, one of the things is I'm an audio engineer and a electronic musician. I come at this through the technology. I started with the technology and then I found the soundscapes. So it's very difficult for me to give up the technology completely. And I also feel that there's a responsible way that we can educate people with technology. So I think that there's a balance to be found there. And it is about reducing your impact and making ethical and proper representations and finding what works for you on those levels.
Okay, thank you very much.